people will walk up to a table without knowing anything about it and plunk down their money, hoping that they'll win. A lot of people walk up to the table and they will play for such scientific reasons as their birth date or their age or the day of the year. There are a lot of superstitions surrounding roulette, especially held by inexperienced players. However, let's take a more scientific approach and see if we can't beat this fantastic game, because there's a lot of money to be made. The basic theory of the CPR system is we use a big section of the wheel to try and get the ball to fall within that section of the wheel. As I mentioned earlier, the numbers on the wheel appear to be very randomly scattered around. It turns out they're not, but that's not obvious when you first look at the wheel. You see here a chart where we have reproduced the sequence of numbers on the actual wheel. And all single and double zero wheels will have the same sequence of numbers. They're always the same going around the wheel. If it's a single zero wheel, as in French roulette, this location will not be there, and the sequence of numbers is different, but that's also covered in the manual. We may talk about that in a minute. So instead of superstitions, let's use a little bit of scientific approach. Now, before we get into that, let me mention briefly that you may hear of such a thing as a biased wheel. They do exist, and we'll talk about how you might handle that sometime. They usually are because the wheel is not correctly balanced, or from some other something we won't get into about how sometimes the wheels in the past had been magnetized, but that's a different story. We can use that to our advantage, incidentally. And some dealers appear to have the ability to throw a biased ball. Personally, it's hard for me to believe that a dealer has enough talent to rotate a ball in the opposite direction of the spinning wheel and determine with any type of remote accuracy where the ball will land. But some people believe there are those kind of dealers. It may be true. Now, what we do in CPR, our theory is to choose for the single player type of play, we're going to designate 4 pie-shaped sections. Now, since we have a 0 and a double 0 on this wheel, we are not going to include the 0, and we're not going to include the double 0. In other words, this section we're not even going to play. We're going to divide the wheel into 4 equal pie-shaped sections. Section 1 here, which on the charts will be called A. Section 2 is 25% of the table, 1/4 of the wheel down here. This will be the third pie shape, and that's the 4th pie shape. And all of these numbers that are adjacent to each other, we will put into our chart as identified by section A, section B, section C, and section D for the single player. We'll talk about partner player play a little later. How does CPR differ from traditional roulette? Well, there are 3 steps that we use to play CPR roulette: the wait mode, the coast mode, and the attack mode. These are explained in great detail in your manual. How do we play the CPR system? When we first sit down at the table, we are automatically in the wait mode. Leonard, why don't you come over and approach?
Okay, I'm now approaching the table, and I'll buy in for, let's say, $100. I'm giving the dealer $100, and I'm going to bet 25 cents. I'll need 25-cent chips. So the dealer is giving me what here? Explain.
Three 25-cent chips.
$25
$25
chips.
check, and each stack is worth $5. $25 and 25 cents.
Okay.
So each yellow chip is worth 25 cents, and the green chips represent the green casino tokens are worth $25 in almost every casino in the world. So you
Okay.
have $100 worth of chips in front of you, and you're going to be playing by yourself. In other words, the single-player version.
Okay?
Remember, Leonard, when we had the wheel up here, and it was divided into 4 sections
I do.
of randomly located numbers?
Yep.
We've taken that information off the wheel, that was in the section 1 we call here A, so that we don't confuse it with a 1 here. Section A is the pie-shaped section from the wheel, and these are the numbers that actually occur in that contiguous group of numbers in section 1 on the wheel. Section 2, section 3, and section 4. You will be playing as a single player one of these 4 sections once we begin to play in the middle of the table. However, before we begin to play, we need to record some data as to what is actually happening when you arrive. When you walk up to the table, you're in wait mode, and you will be using the chart down below.
Now, I'll have that chart that you're going to show on the TV screen now, and I'll have that chart with me
in your hand.
in my hand at the table. In fact, do we have a chart handy that I can just show that I have in my hand, or just any piece of paper would be fine. In other words, I'm picking up. Okay. In other words, I'm going to be bringing to the table, and this is in the book, a chart that we will have that you'll bring to the table to record the spins, okay? And this is the chart that you've reproduced on the TV screen now in a larger form, correct?
Yes, this
Okay.
is an exact duplicate of the one that is in the book, and the students may photocopy this and take it with them to the casino.
Okay, in other words, we can make a photocopy of the chart that's in the book, looks exactly like this in the book. Okay, good.
Okay.
Have we got it for you? Yeah.
What we want to do now, that you have arrived at the table, is keep track of every decision that the ball makes as she spins the wheel. She will rotate the ball, and let's have a live action spin here.
Now, I will not be betting during this time, is that correct?
Not on the first spin, usually.
Okay.
You will bet on the next spin. I'll explain that.
Of course, with the real wheel. Right.
We've chosen a 29 black. She'll mark the 29 black.
Okay.
Now, in order to hold your seat, you want to be able to stay at the table and hold your little chart in your lap so that you can record every successive hit of the ball from now on. So, in order to do that, in order to hold your place, you would want to place 1 or 2 bets on the table. If the table minimum is $2, then you would put $2 worth of chips, perhaps in the first 12 numbers block. That's a 2-to-1 pay. Go ahead and put 8 chips, or $2 in the first 12. No, this.
Oh, we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not betting on the inside yet.
Just put, what's the table minimum? Okay.
$2.
$2 worth of chips.
And then put $2 in, say, one of the columns.
Mm-hmm.
The 2-to-1 up and down in front of you. The
Oh,
end of the
okay.
table, on the right end.
All right. And what's the minimum here?
$2.
$2, okay.
Whatever the table minimum designates, and that will be specified on this placard that's usually located right here.
Now, let me ask you this question, though, first. Have we now marked the chart for the first spin?
No, we didn't. It was 29.
Uh-huh.
And so we would, in order to identify these numbers, instead of having to go through that messy A, B, C, D, we have put them in sequence here, followed by the chart location for that particular number. The number was 29.
The number was 29.
It's easy to find because they're in numerical order. So it was a D. The first hit was in column D, so we'll just mark a little ball there. That's where the first
Now,
one.
hang on just a second before we spin again. I just want to get this clear. For my own purposes, and obviously, if I can understand it, then hopefully our students will understand it. We walk up to the table. Are we going to have 2 charts in front of us? We're going to take 2 charts with us to the table. Is that correct? Chuck,
You will
We're
take,
taking-
yeah, we don't,
we're taking those two charts with us?
you will not take this one.
We're
You
just
take
taking
this
that one.
And your bet progression chart.
On the bet progression chart, okay.
is in the
But right now, we're illustrating how we're gonna mark the single player chart.
The record chart.
Yeah, the record chart, okay. Now, why is it we cannot stay at the table without making these bets? It would be better not to make these bets, or we could just make one bet.
You could make just one bet. You do not have
Yeah.
to make two.
I'll have to make two bets, because we're just waiting until we can enter the game with the numbers, the whole purpose.
Correct.
But at most tables, you know, I'll ask this to the dealer, as a new player, they will not allow you to sit there for a few spins without making a bet. I mean, would we have to make a bet?
No, you have to make at least a bet, at least every other spin.
At least every other spin? Okay,
You're picking up the key, you're picking
yes,
up the color.
okay. All right,
And it's important for you to be there because you want to record the successive hits of the ball in the wheel for every spin from now on. That will determine your next mode of play. We're now in wait mode, and the ball made a decision on 22. And you were betting in that column, so you get paid 2 chips for every chip you had out there.
so in the wait mode, we're always going to bet whatever the table minimum is that correct?
That's correct.
On perhaps a couple of those 2-to-1 bets?
It could be 2 to 1, it could be the even bet.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You
All
can
right.
bet 1 or 2. Now,
Okay.
one possible advantage of betting the 2 to 1s is if you hit one, you make a little money. Otherwise, you would just break even, which isn't bad.
Okay, you're going to now record this,
Yeah.
which was,
22. The first one was in a
20
D.
the first one was 29.
29, that was
Which
in
would have
column.
already been recorded.
Right. And the second number we hit was 22, and that's in column A. So we move down one line and record that the ball hit in that column.
So okay, so we're just now practicing recording the column, and you can see how easy it is because we can find it in the left in numerical order.
Right.
And then we immediately see what number it is.
And each successive spin, you move down one row and
Oh, I see.
record the column that the number was in.
Now, let me perhaps get ahead of you a little bit. What now is the purpose for doing this? Why is it that we're doing this?
We are trying to identify a column that has had a long succession of misses in order to possibly predict that that column might be getting hot. In other words, it would be a hit-starved column, and then we would begin our second mode of play. So it's very important that we accurately track each successive spin as far as what column the number was located in on that spin.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to maybe move over. I like the idea of playing the 2-to-1 bets.
And the other thing you might want to do, Leonard, when the ball is spinning this time, prepare your next set of bets so you don't have to count out the chips
I see.
each time.
Okay. Well, that's a good idea.
Now, the ball has decided it likes number 19. We look at our tracking chart. We see that 19 is in section D. So now we have another hit in section D, and we record that here. If you won, you would get paid.
Which I did. I happened to win in that section. Okay.
Now, place some more bets.
No, I actually have a little
One or
problem
more.
here, Chuck. You know, and I haven't actually done anything yet.
You got to be careful about that profit.
Yeah.
That'll get you hooked.
Okay. But actually, now I messed up because I didn't have my bets. Let me see if
So
I
get your
can.
bets out there before she gets her
Yes.
hand over the table. You don't want to miss a spin here. Actually, we're in wait mode. You can miss
Sure.
every other bet. Now we have a decision on 32. You want again.
I'm certainly
Okay.
doing well.
That's one of the reasons I like single player, is that you possibly can make some money. 32 is in column B. So the next row down, we mark a little ball in column B to show that we've had a hit in column B. Now go ahead and place bets,
I wasn't ready.
one or more bets, one or two bets if you're single player.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start up here again. I seem to have had very good.
No more bets. Now we have a hit on number 11. 11 is in column B, and that's the same column we were in the last time. So we have two B's in a row. We're still tracking. We're building up here a possible dearth of hits in column C. There's a possibility we may start playing in C, but we need to have 10 misses in that column before we do anything. No more bets. The ball decided it liked number 1. So number 1 is in column A. Next row down, we mark column A, and she will begin.
Now, let me back up to something you said just a minute ago. We're actually looking for a column to be without a hit for 10.
I said that wrong.
Oh.
The 10th, on the 10th roll, the 10th spin, we would make our first bet.
On the number, on the 10th spin.
We're looking for 9 misses in a row.
I see. But let's say the column C would hit now. Then let's say column C would hit now the next time. What would happen then?
Then we would begin counting in the column that had the most number of misses previous to that. If we had a hit here in C, then we would be watching column D for 9 misses.
So we're looking for a total of 9 misses in a row.
Correct.
In a column.
Right.
And then we would bet on the 10th time in that column.
That's
In
correct.
other words, you're looking to wait for a column not to hit for 9 spins.
9 successive spins.
9 successive spins.
And then you move into the next mode that we call coast mode.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm now, and of course, in talking, I have not been following your advice on getting my next bet ready, so I am not probably the best student in the world.
You'll need to put twice as many chips.
Hopefully my other students will do much better than me. And
No more bets. Now we have number 19 on the wheel. We're back on section D. So we put our little ball, tells us that it hit in section D, and we still have a long string of misses in section C.
and the way we can see the number in a row is you just count each line.
Right.
But you can see that you're now down to line, as I'm pointing here, you're down to line, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're now looking, this is the 8th spin.
Right. And what I often do when I'm getting close is I'll do that. I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I may write a little 7 down here. This is a reminder to me
I
in
see.
that corner that we've had 7 misses up to that point.
We're looking for 9 misses, and this is the basis of what, before we actually start betting the numbers, we have to have the patience to wait for 9 misses in a column.
That's correct. We call it the wait mode. Maybe we should call it the patience
The
mode.
patience, well, we have to have patience to wait, so that's.
The ball is slowing down. No more bets. We have a number 26 as the winner. This time, you lost both bets. Number 26 is in column B. So the next row down, we mark the ball landed in column B. Now we have 8 misses.
So we're
One
looking-
more miss in column C, and we can begin betting.
Now, the question I want to ask, Chuck, in the long run, the bets that we're making in this weight mode are losers, correct? I mean, we're not expecting to win money in this weight mode. I mean, in the long run, is that correct?
We're trying basically to sort of hold our own, hold our place at the table, and build up the data on which
Build up
call.
the data. So for all practical purposes, the least amount of money we can spend in the weight mode, the best. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, correct. Now, would it be better then, just asking this, would it be better to work with the even money bets in that we'd have a better chance of holding our own in that situation? I'm just asking these things. What is your preference when you're at the table playing in the weight mode?
It's a personal preference. I know some people who prefer to play the even bets, the even odd, the red, black,
Right.
the first 18,
Sure.
high, low, in other words. However, I personally have had success in playing the 2-to-1 because it appears that you can often win one of the 2-to-1 bets, and that way you're actually ahead instead of just breaking even.
Okay. But if somebody wants to make it real simple for themselves,
Right.
you could just play red and black if you wanted to in the weight mode, correct?
You could.
You could do that.
Place one bet.
One bet on just one. So let's just make it simple for myself. Now, it still has to be the table minimum, correct? So if the table minimum here is $2, so let's just coast along. I think my preference would be to keep it simple and make one bet while we're waiting. And if I had to bet, if I could get away with betting every other time, I would perhaps do that also, just to minimize my risk during that period.
Most
Yeah.
dealers will allow you to do
Yeah.
that. There you
Okay.
go. The number selected was number 7, and lo and behold, it's a B. So now we've had 9 misses.
9 misses in a column.
9
isn't
misses
that-
in a
yeah.
column.
Right.
Now, we'll immediately switch to the coast mode. Incidentally, while we're talking about tracking the numbers, many tables will have an electronic scorecard above the table with the numbers that have been rolled in the last number of rolls lit up. You do not want to use that electronic scorecard. Number one, the numbers are in the opposite sequence to what we want to know, and quite often they're not very accurate. You can sit at a table and the ball might hit in 4, and the electronic scorecard would come up with a 21. So for 2 reasons, don't even pay any attention to the electronic scoreboard above the wheel.
Just watch where the dealer places the marker for the number.
Yes. One other caution, most tables have a plexiglass screen around this part of the wheel. While you're watching the game, be careful not to come and lean on that plastic wheel. The dealer won't like that at all. There's a possibility of misbalancing the wheel.
All right, so we've had now 9 misses in column C. Now what?
Now we're going to move into what we call coast mode, and in your manual you will find a page called Coast Mode Betting Progression. The first bet you place now is a 1-level bet. It can be your $2 minimum, and you will bet $2. I said that wrong. You will bet 1 chip on all 9 numbers that are in this section that you're playing. So your section has, we're now playing in the C section, you're going to bet on all 9 of these numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I would have that chart with me at the table
Yes, you would.
to show that in C section we have 2, we have 4, we have 6, 14, 16, and of course as you get used to this, you'll 21, 23, 33, and 35. And that,
Number 10 was selected, and 10 is in D, so we will record, here we mark, I'm sorry, in the column we are playing, we put in the number of units. We bet 1 unit on each of the 9 numbers. However, section D is where the ball landed. So we go to the next sequence in the betting progression table, which also is a 1-level bet. So we're going to put 1 level, 1 unit bet in the same 9 numbers.
And what you mean by level, you mean unit?
Unit.
When you say it's a 1 unit bet,
1
right?
unit bet.
Meaning
Well,
whatever that minimum.
Yeah, the level is the betting level on the betting
And we're
level progression
still in
chart.
C, so we're at 2, 4, and of course I would have this chart now in my lap, perhaps.
That's correct, yeah.
And I would see that these are the sections, these are the numbers in that section C. So we got 2, 4, 6, 14, and of course
16,
14, 16,
21,
16, 21,
23,
23,
33,
33,
and 35.
and 35. Okay.
Well, the ball decided it liked number 3. So we've lost again. You should have your 9 chips there ready to place on the table. 3 is in section A. So
As
we
soon
mark.
as I know that it hasn't hit, I can actually start placing my bets again.
Yes, you,
And we're
you
still-
should automatically assume that you're going to lose. Have your next series of bets ready.
2, 4, 6, 14, 16, 21, 23, and I can see, get used to looking at 2 numbers at once.
The next-
33, 35.
The next
33,
level on the
35.
betting progression chart is also 1 unit.
Okay.
Number 24 was the winning number, and that is in section A. That was a column hit, so we marked the ball in the A column. We're waiting for a hit in the C column so that we can move on to the next mode. We are now in coast mode, and we need to find out what the next level in the betting progression is. So we go to the coast mode. Here is a shot of the coast mode betting progression chart from your manual, page 55, for the single player. Single player is when we play 9-number sections. Remember, we waited 9 misses. The 10th miss in that column was our first spin where we made a bet. We bet 1 unit the first time, and we did not hit. So the next level, we bet 1 unit. We did not hit. So we bet 1 unit on the next level, which is actually the 3rd playing level. These others are just for information. The last column, if we would get a hit at this point, reveals how many units we would be ahead at that point. Now, we have already made the first 3 unit bets for the first 3 spins after the 9 misses, the 10th, 11th, and 12th spins, the first, second, third spins. We're now on the 4th spin. We look at our betting progression chart, and we see that we need to play 2 units on each of the 9 numbers, and again on the following one, and then we start to go up a little bit each time. The whole point of the coast mode is to wait until the ball finally decides it's missed our section enough times that we'll get a hit somewhere in here. When that happens, we'll come out with some net win ahead. That tends to keep us about even, and then we can start attacking because we now know that the ball has discovered our section in the chart. You'll notice that the numbers that are over in this corner are 1 through 36 in numerical order. They're reproduced again on the bottom of the chart because you may want to take this chart with you to the table and fold it over so it doesn't take up so much room. These numbers are only for reference to decide where to put the ball when it selects one of the numbers listed here. Now, we just referred to our single player betting progression chart, and we found that on the 4th spin sequence, we would move up to a 2-unit bet. So we place 2 units on each of the C section numbers, the same numbers we just used, and we put 2 there to denote 2 units on all 9 numbers in the active section. More bets. Number 4. Well, it happens to have found our section. A number 4 comes in the C column, so we just circle our 2 with the ball, and we won on section C. The dealer pays the appropriate amount on a 2-level spin, and that plus everything Leonard has lost, he's now 27 units ahead of when he started. We immediately now move.
That demands a little applause, because after all, we've had quite an experience here. We went how many times before that section hit?
Well, here's 9, 10, 11, 12, the magic number,
Hit on
13.
the 13th. Okay, so now we've recovered the money, plus we have a little profit.
We have a little
Of
profit.
how much?
27 units.
Will you
That's
find
listed
that
on the chart, the
on
coast mode chart in the
you'll
right-hand
find-
column.
You'll find the profit part. So once we hit now in that section, now what?
We immediately move into what we call attack mode. Attack mode, now that the ball has discovered our section, we will become more aggressive. The first bet we will make is still in the C section. We will fall back, however, to a 1-unit bet. And we put 1 unit in all the 9 same numbers in column C.
And the idea in the attack mode is to see if we're going to now get back-to-back hits in that section. Is that correct?
Yes, we feel that more often than not, there have been 13 misses in that part of the wheel, that pie-shaped part of the wheel, and more often than not, we will get 1 or 2 or 3 or more hits following the 1 hit we do get. So we want to take advantage of that possibility and increase our bets faster than we were in the coast mode.
And if we do not get a hit now in that section, then we're back to the weight mode?
We would be back to the weight mode provided that there are no other columns that show 9 or more holes. In this case, that's the longest column. B is the longest column of misses. So we would go back to weight mode and play red or black, high or low.
So we're looking now to get 1 in each, again in column C, to take advantage of the fact now it hit. And I notice as I do this, you can sometimes, once you get familiar with the charts, you can see, you memorize several numbers at once without looking. So you got 2, 4, 6. For instance, then you got 14, 16, 21. So you got 14, 16, 21. And now you can go 23, 33, 35. 23, 33, 35.
It's pretty easy to
Once
pick
you
up.
get used to it.
Right.
Yeah.
No more bets. Number 20. Well, it turns out this time number 20 is in the B column, so we do not win that time, but we only lost 9 units. We look for 9 consecutive misses in one of the other columns, but the only column that's had more than 2 or 3 is column D. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 misses, so we go back to the weight mode and play either odd or even, red or black, double, 2-to-1 odds, like we were before we made our first bet.
So it's a continuous process. In other words, once you find the A, B, or C section or D section that has not hit for 9 times, you start playing in the coast mode.
Correct.
Then, once you start and you have a win in the coast mode, we're just summarizing, once you have a win in the coast mode, you stay with that section until it loses. Then you go back again to look for a column or a section that doesn't again have, or that has 9 misses. And it's a continuous process, correct?
That's right, Leonard. We continue to play the same section until we lose. As a matter of fact, some players prefer, once they have moved into attack mode, at this point, to help themselves remember that they're no longer in coast mode, they put A for attack, and the level on the betting progression chart in this case would be A1. That denotes that we have been in the attack mode. So we would know by looking at the attack mode chart that if we had won here, we would move to the next level, which would be the A2 if we had won at this point. Still staying in the same section until we lose, but moving downward on the attack mode chart, thereby increasing our wins by significant amounts.
That's single player CPR, correct?
Yes, that's for one person playing alone.
Now, the beauty of CPR, or one of the beauties of CPR, is that now, if you happen to have a partner, or want to get a partner, or know a friend, or come or go to play somewhere where you come together, you can now work CPR with a partner, correct?
Yes, there's a version known as partner play, and in the partner play, we divide the wheel up into 3 sections instead of 4. That means there are 12 numbers in each section, but one partner plays 6 numbers,